Hey everybody, welcome back to You Are Free TV. It is Saturday, February 24th, 2024. I'm so glad to be back with you here on the channel, and I will jump in with my disclaimer. This video is for entertainment purposes only. It is protected by the United States Constitution protecting free speech, as well as the Sullivan Act and reporting. It is not intended to bully or harass anyone, never to incite violence or hatred or lawlessness of any kind. It doesn't give legal, medical, or financial advice, and there are further disclaimers in the description below. So it's so good to be back with you here. I've got a little bit of a eyelash capture there. Okay, good. All right, so I'm going to plug at the end of the channel. We're here on Saturday while we're watching the already manipulations in the South Carolina primary going on, where the ES&S machines are supposedly breaking down. They have reports out of Richland County in South Carolina. This is, of course, a very wealthy Democrat area in Columbia, South Carolina, where they're being told, for one thing, there's tons of Democrats coming out and voting against Trump for Haley. And that should never be allowed in a primary. I don't know why it's being allowed. It's absolutely non-democratic, shall we say. And then also the machines, they're saying, literally the poll workers are saying to the public that because the machines can't connect to the internet is down, okay, and they're never supposed to connect to the internet. They're saying because the machines are down, can't connect to the internet, which is illegal, okay, that they're putting their ballots into a similar kind of drop box that happened in Maricopa County back in 2022 in Arizona, where, of course, the election for Kari Lake was stolen for Hobbs. And this is happening now in South Carolina, while billions, not billions, but, tens of millions are going into Nikki Haley's war machine coffers to try to up her votes in the primary there in South Carolina. So that's happening. We're going to talk more about it. But we're going to talk about CPAC today and a lot else. I hope you're feeling jazzed today, because I feel like there's just an amazing just uptick and energy going for the people, okay, the populists, the freedom lovers across the world, not just in America, but Americans and then populists worldwide. Meeting up in CPAC is a huge energizer and really giving the big 1-2 to the globalists. CPAC this year, of course, their motto was "Where globalism comes to die." And so we're going to jump into a bunch of stuff here. We have 254 days left to the election. So it is time to ramp up whatever you're doing, whatever your God-given talents are. Get involved, whether it's precinctstrategy.com, Moms for Liberty, wherever you feel that you can make the most difference. A lot of it has to do with door knocking and being a caller on the phones, getting involved, and especially, I would say, in your smaller local elections is huge, because we're in this situation where we have to defeat cartel Babylon, the globalist economy of sin machine that is trying to press across the entire world, take all of our democratic and republics away from us, and push what used to be what the tactic was before, was to do this to the third world. Now they're doing it to the West. And so we have to defeat it. We're going to talk a lot more about what that means, because we had people like Bukele, the president out of El Salvador, coming out and talking specifically of how this happened in El Salvador, where the gangs came to rule. Milei speaking so clearly about how statist economics had destroyed Argentina before he got in. Incredible stuff. So let's jump in, and I'll go ahead with what I've got here, and I'll put on the old glasses here so I can read you exactly what's going on. So, okay. I want to talk about, first, I want to just mention the J6pardonproject.org, J6pardonproject.org. And this is so important because we had now, I think, 2 more people arrested in New Jersey just last week over J6, still, like 3 years later. They are doing this where they are going after people. They have a quota with Merrick Garland, with no oath, Department of Justice. said they have a quota. They want 2,000 people arrested and prosecuted under J6. They've just arrested a couple of people in New Jersey, completely bogus, just whatever. They were there, didn't do anything. And it's going on. And so go to j6pardonproject.org. What they're doing there is they're gathering all of the evidence to show through the Fedsurrection, everything available on video, etc., to show that the Fedsurrection was absolutely managed by the Democrats and the deep state regime, and to get all the evidence ready for when Trump gets in office in 2025, basically so that on day one they can pardon every J6 prisoner. And so this is very important, j6pardonproject.org. I'm sure they need your support. Okay, and so then we're going to go on, before I get into CPAC and all of it. God, I have this, hair is a weird thing. I suddenly have hair, and now it's always in my eyes. Anyway, okay, so we've got this, of course, solar flare or whatever put down the AT&T phones. Now, AT&T, way back when they were the Atlantic, what were they called? Atlantic Telegraph something. Anyway, they have always been involved in intelligence from day one. But what do we have now? Of course, we had everybody's phones going off for a while on Thursday, and it reached into Verizon, it reached into all this stuff. And then suddenly we hear there's another China balloon or some balloon that they say they don't know where it comes from. It's unidentified, and by the way, it doesn't pose a national security threat, even though it's completely unidentified. Can you believe this? There is another one of these intelligence gathering balloons that they went and sent jet fighters out to check it out there over Utah, where it's huge, the most massive data gathering facilities are located. Massive, huge data collection facilities is where they found this balloon. And then now it's over Colorado. Now it's floating east. Goes over just data collection balloon going over Cheyenne Mountain there in Colorado Springs, and the continuity of government and all of it. Just heading eastward with the jet stream, they say, and don't worry about it because we don't see that it poses any national security threat. Can you believe that there even would say this? Our own Pentagon, our own Department of Defense. Yes, we could, because our Department of Defense is not protecting America and is actually enabling the spying on not just the 276,000 Americans that they used FISA last year to spy on in America, but no. We're allowing the entire international roll through of gathering our data collection. And basically, you have to wonder, is this a rollout of a what I would say like a first go of an EMP situation? So they take out AT&T for a day, goes into Verizon, it goes into other things. I think even Walgreens was assaulted, and there was people weren't able to get their prescriptions filled. That sounds like China to me. And so, yeah, so that's going on. And so there's a bunch of things involved here. We have the Chi-Com cyber group called Volt Typhoon. But we also have the World Economic Forum's cyber polygon thing that they've been talking about forever, that would be worse than the CV. It would be worse than everything if we have a cyber pandemic. Okay, and so there's that. But let me get into it a little bit more here. We also get something called ISON, iSoon, I believe is what it's called. iSoon. Let me get here. Ding, ding, ding. iSoon. Yeah, so documents were leaked in the last couple days out of a group called iSoon that gets tons and tons of hundreds of thousands of dollars out of the CCP to also hack out of Shanghai. And their Chinese name in Mandarin is Anxun or ANXUN. And what they've been doing, they've been hired by the CCP to hack into NATO, all kinds of corporations, hack into Taiwan, mapping, everything to do with the Indian election boards all across the world. They only have 25 employees, but they've been massively used by the CCP to hack. And so when we look at this a spy balloon over our country, that our military that has been literally just neutered is not taking it down or out and just saying it poses no threat. We don't know where it comes from, but it poses no threat. So a bunch of baloney, again, from our disabled military with who is controlled by globalist forces now at this point, telling us that we don't need to worry about a spy balloon after we had a massive attack on cell phones that affected half the country, plus our pharmacies. Very interesting. Okay, and so let's go on from there. I want to mention a couple things before I get into CPAC. CPAC was super engaging, just so uplifting, and I'm going to talk about the highlights, but if you haven't watched it, I'm going to link below how you can watch the entire thing, because really the speeches were off the charts, and what they had to do was to tell us that there are so many populist leaders across the world that are right there with President Trump, right there with MAGA, calling themselves MAGA, basically holding MAGA events, even in Europe coming up. This is huge. They are really going against the globalists, so we love this. And so I'm going to start here before I get there to talk about some things I've been talking about recently with the national asset corporations and how they're planning to steal our land, and how that's been Joe Biden's push for his entire presidency is to set it up where these clean energy companies are being set up to be the ones that get these natural asset corporation trading situations, and they shot it down, but it's still up, it's still going, they're still pushing for it, and now they're planning on how they can stop a Trump presidency from shutting down all the funding, and it's all the funding, and it's so funny because I listened to Javier Milei out of Argentina talking about this so clearly today out of CPAC, where he said that when the state is sponsoring and paying for, using taxpayer dollars, all of the corporations, then what you have is a totally failed economic system, because they're literally stealing your money to go into things that fail. And this is exactly what the American Clean Energy Association is doing. And we have Breitbart breaking huge news here, where they were given an environmental organization gave them this document. It's a 66-page document out of the American Clean Energy Association, where basically they're going to pay off. Their plan is that, for one thing, they're dependent on, literally under the Inflation Reduction Act under Biden, they getting close to $1 trillion in subsidies. It's insane. It's a massive steal of our money in taxpayer credit from the future, because of course they just print the money now. The credit comes due on our children and grandchildren. Okay, but then on top of it, it is that they are stealing our land, stealing our energy, stealing our resources, stealing our property. That's the plan, and that's what's coming out. And so what came out of this 66-page document to Breitbart, it was called the February 2024 Board Memo. February 2024 Board Memo for the American Clean Power Association, the ACP, the American Clean Power Association. And what they're doing basically is they want to prevent, once Trump gets in, that the Senate can allow any repealing of the Inflation Reduction Act. They want to prevent that by bribing the senators. I mean, it's all laid out. It's crazy. And the House members in the Congress. So I just want you to write down on your pad, you need to have this on hand. You need to call your Congress. Okay, so the House is 202-225-3121. The Senate is 202 224-3121. And then, of course, there's the billblastersapp.org. You don't even have to download the app. If you don't want apps, you can go on there and do the same thing. And so the situation is that we need to be calling because they're coming after our senators. They expect that Trump will win. They expect that the Senate will be Republican and the House. And all the odds markets are showing the same thing. And also the market, as in the New York Stock Exchange, is showing that Trump is going to win, and they're favoring those odds. In Vegas, by the way, they're favoring odds that Michelle Obama is going to win, that she's going to run. And they pushed it up. I think it was like 5-1. Now it's like 8-1. Huge odds that they're thinking that Michelle's coming in. And so anyway, back to this February 2024 board memo out of the American Clean Power Association. And of course, this is about shutting down, as they put John Podesta in to be the new climate envoy after they, put Kerry, the bonesman, in charge of stealing the next election for entertainment purposes only. So Podesta is quickly expelling all of our fossil fuel energy out, giving all of our coal reserves to India, all of this. Well, while they're doing that, they plan to bribe GOP members to stop Trump repealing any parts of the Inflation, that's so funny, Inflation Reduction Act. It is an inflammation of horrific proportions on what it does to basically make us all ill without any energy and without any power. And so, okay, this is 800 companies that benefit from this program, from the Inflation Reduction Act, connected with American Clean Power Association. And this is, we're dealing with carbon capture, carbon credits, taxes, the social credit score system, all of this, Bill Gates, the guy out of Iowa doing all of the carbon capture, plus producing all of the biofuel from corn, all of this that I've been talking about in all my videos. We have Tom Pyle out of the American Energy Alliance basically saying that the docs reveal that green energy industry cannot survive without the government funding. And that's absolutely true. And again, when I talk about Millet coming up and him laying out what it means to have free market capitalism, once you bring in the government funding with billions of dollars to favor an industry, what you get is collapse of the economy and oppression of the people. And so the government is funding with billions of dollars these companies that are the wind farms, the solar farms, all of it made in China, and also the most awful slave labor and child labor in Africa, getting these rare earth minerals that then can't be recycled once they're in all of our electronics or in these solar panels. We have, I think in California, I'll try to find it here, but in California, a giant graveyard of totally leaching solar panels that failed. Okay, all across the eastern seaboard, we're seeing the failing of the wind farms. All of it is dying. But yet they want to make sure that they grift all of this money out of our children and grandchildren. So their whole business model is literally based on mass subsidies by the government, meaning our taxpayer dollars, rather than market demand. And they have a list of specific action items. This is in a 66-page document that was leaked by an environmental group to Breitbart. Basically saying we're going after people like Senator Cornyn, John Cornyn in Texas. He's our big guy. We want to put him in and replace Mitch McConnell with Cornyn. That he will shut down, keep the drill baby drill. He will keep everything shut down there in Texas because he's going to be paid off by the American Clean Power Association with $7 million that they have to spend. They have about $50 million in their coffers that they could use, but they're going after about a dozen senators, okay, for the 2025 year. And then they're going, before then, they're starting right now, obviously, but then about 50 House members that they think they can bribe to keep this Inflation Reduction Act in place. And so specific action items were control the Senate, again, put in Cornyn to replace McConnell. I don't think it will ever happen with the momentum of the people and the activism of you, because we are the ones to stop it. Okay, you can complain all day about you have a bad senator, you have a bad House representative, you have bad things going on in your school board or your city council. But you know what? It's kind of on you, and it's kind of on me. Whenever we see that, we're not victims, we're the ones not stopping them, right? And so we have to stop them. It's all of our jobs times 10 right now. This is our last chance to turn this around before we go full globalist, full economy of sin. Get involved and ramp it up times 10 with whatever you have to offer in whatever capacity. But we really need election involvement right now. And so, okay, so basically what they want to prevent in the Senate is that any attempt to repeal Inflation Reduction Act policies. They want to make it so that it will never get to a vote in the Senate. So they want to bribe the senators. It's literally here leaked. I'll link it below in Breitbart. It's amazing. And their tier 1 states that they're going after are Iowa, the whole biodiesel thing. And we got to get on Trump, because Trump is, oh, the biodiesel, oh, Iowa loves me, the corn, the blah, 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 the GMOs. No. We got to turn Trump around on this. And this needs to be a big deal. And I'm just bringing your attention to it. Kansas, same thing with the carbon capture pipelines. This is all about carbon capture pipelines and all the bullshit with Bill Gates and the rest of them, and the guy who owns all the biodiesel and carbon capture stuff in Iowa. I don't have him in my brain right now, but I will get back to him. I meant to do it this month, and I told you I would, but I will get back to him. North Carolina and South Carolina, those seem to be tier 1 states that they're aiming at the senators and House members to get them to support the Inflation Reduction Act, and trying to repeal it by President Trump when he gets back in. The second tier states are West Virginia, Louisiana, Tennessee, Oklahoma, Illinois, Ohio, and Arizona. They believe they already own Alaska and Maine because they have the senators, of course, Murkowski and Collins, already doing their bidding. So this is why I give you the numbers in the app, that you need to push your senators to say, hey, we want to repeal the Inflation Reduction Act, and we need you on board. Okay, because Chuck Schumer is doing he's using blocking the impeachment of Mayorkas, no oath. Again, you need to call your senator and say, hey, can you prove, I want to see the proof of Mayorkas, Alejandro. I want to see Alexi's proof of oath. I want to see it, because Todd Callender's great outfit has established that not only does Mayorkas have no proof of oath of office, neither does Garland and so many others, Austin et al. And so the more we could push for that and say, hey, can you prove there's an oath of office here with Mayorkas, the more it might, we might win, right? We might win, where they'll back down and realize that they've been caught out and defeated. Okay. And so, okay, going to move into CPAC in a second. I wanted to mention a couple things before I go there that have to do with the shots and all the death and awful. Of course, Ed Dowd was at CPAC and recounting, of course, all the excess deaths that have come since we've been hit with the bioweapon that is killing tens of millions of people. I think it's much larger than the numbers that they say for entertainment purposes only. But I did want to mention a couple things. One is TV show host Wendy Williams. She had that Wendy Williams show. I think it was canceled a couple years ago. And she now has been, for a while, but now released to the public, diagnosed with aphasia and frontotemporal lobe dementia. Very much like what Bruce Willis has been diagnosed with. And very interestingly and strangely, she's only 59 years old, and she is a court-appointed legal guardian controlling her life. She's stuck in a full-time care facility, and her family is saying they can't even see her. And this frontotemporal lobe dementia situation has so much to do with what the shots affect. When you get glioblastomas, people who get the turbo brain cancer and are dead within like 6 weeks. It's crazy. And I just wanted to say that these people that work in the media who are mandated to get the shots for entertainment purposes only are rapidly aging, and their brains are being absolutely decimated by the shots, and it's horrific and it's awful. And I wanted to go also from there, before I move forward into CPAC, to talk about the great Matt Baker. He does all that great activism in California, a pro-MAGA guy. And he had the same situation where his wife, Cece, had suffered from, she was going through kidney stuff and heart stuff. She had a lot of just health issues. And she ended up having to go to the hospital. Matt Baker, and he's at Slave to Liberty. You can find him all over. He does great demonstrations and all kinds of stuff. But his wife ended up having to go into the hospital to get an operation, and she had to get this blood transfusion, and she got vaccinated blood. And she went into critical condition. She was literally just clotting all over her whole body. She had massive amounts of clots and microclots running through her body. She had pericarditis, where she had clots all around her heart. This all came from the blood transfusion. And what Matt Baker had to say was that, never, I'm just putting this out first to say, and I think it's so important, is that if you have people in the hospital that are dealing with anything right now, with the seizure of our medical apparatus by globalists, you absolutely do not leave them alone at night. That a lot happens at night in the hospital, and you have to be there, and you need to see what's going on, and you need to protect your loved one. I think that is very important, and to constantly advocate and ask questions about every single thing they're doing and be educated to be able to correct them, because Matt Baker had to say that he was able to change a lot of things by being educated and suggesting things and doing things, and luckily in a place where they were willing to listen, but we know so often they aren't. And so we, of course, know that the Red Cross has been refusing blood transfusions from people who are vaccinated, asking you that, are you experiencing any symptoms? Did you get the shots? If you did, are you experiencing symptoms? If you're experiencing symptoms, we can't take your blood. And so they're openly admitting in the Red Cross that the vaccinated have problematic blood. And of course, we also have the embalmers coming out from all across the United States and the world, where they're saying we're seeing these massive rubbery, they're not biological, these synthetic clots, these rubbery things that they're dragging out that are like this long, huge freaking, they're not clots, they are biosynthetic, they're biosyn entities, that are, communicating with the fucking internet, excuse my F. I just had to say it because I'm pissed off about it. I'm pissed off that they have put something in our body that is literally communicating with the internet and clogging up the veins, and not just veins. It used to be clots were just in veins. Now they're in the arteries, right? And so they're finding where you have your embalmers, you go to the funeral home, and what they're finding is that they would normally have to use a 1-point injection site to drain the blood of a person, like it was 90%. And now they're saying it's only 10% now, where of the corpses they get to embalm for funerals, only 10% can be drained from one site of draining the blood. Now they have to do like a pincushion with 5 different places, all the different limbs and everything, the torso, to actually drain the blood, because there's so much of this garbage, this biosyn garbage inside of the bodies, that now they have to do it like 90% of the time, where they have to drain it from 5 different sites because of all of what they pull out, these giant snake-like white rubbery things that are not blood clots. They are synthetic biology. And so I wanted to, of course, prayers to Matt Baker and his wife Cece, especially as they continue to heal from this situation. Okay. Moving on. I wanted to just mention, before I get into CPAC and all the great people that raised my energy this week and this weekend, as we wait for the, what's coming out of the South Carolina primary while they get cheated by the ES&S machines. I just wanted to mention this situation of the spacecraft Odysseus landing on the moon. This Wednesday, I'm going to have a SpaceX engineer on the show. We're going to be talking about the her role in engineering this space technology to do with landing on the moon. I think it's very interesting, and we have a lot to learn about what's really going on. But it was very interesting to hear that we're also hearing that there was one thing that they found with the Odysseus landing on the moon was something about the moon turning red, and a lot of strange information coming out of that. I'll talk about that for sure this coming week. But then also there was this thing about on Mars, a very strange anomaly where a Mars nuclear-powered rover that is basically it's like a mini helicopter. It's like a tiny little drone, basically. And something took it out. Okay, it took it out. Basically, it was taken out in Mars, where supposedly there's no atmosphere, there's no life, there's no nothing. But they have designed these rover little tiny helicopter drone things to go and check out what's going on in Mars. And basically it was taken out by something in a no atmosphere environment. So we'll find out more what's going on with that this week. And just for one or two little things, I just want to mention, Biden's dog. Dogs, they love people who are trustworthy and have integrity, right? And they hate people who are awful. And we now have like the third Biden dog running through the White House of Mr. Hyde, as the Secret Service calls Biden. And Biden's dog Commander is now attacking the Secret Service consistently and constantly. And there's something going on here where, we have hashtag free Commander, because literally showing that there is a major problem here with Biden, that he is a threat. And I believe that is what the Commander is doing. All these dogs of Biden they're attacking the Secret Service. There's something really fishy going on there, and it's not. We just know it. Dogs know, and I believe that for entertainment purposes only, the dog is saying, "Help me, help me, get me out of here. I'm being abused. I'm being abused," and that's how I feel about it. So one of the great things that came out of CPAC, there's so many, but I'm just going to put on, actually I'm put on a few of them. One of them I wanted to mention is that there's a call for a rally at 10 a.m. at the National Monument on July 13th. Put that in your calendar. This is against fentanyl. Now, a close person to me just had a family member die of fentanyl. Again, one of these pills, that they took and died. And, it's like Judy Mikovits says, never another shot. I would say never another pill. Don't take any pills. I don't even trust, a jar of pills I get from the store. I just don't. You don't know what's in it. But this fentanyl thing, there's a huge group trying to get them classified as weapons of mass destruction, that they get put on the terrorism list. We've heard Donald Trump say that as president, he's considering putting fentanyl dealers as for the death penalty for all of the deaths that they commit. And I got to say, I don't think that's wrong. That there is absolutely, if you kill people with the things that you sell, you should also have to face those consequences. And so this incredible push to stop the fentanyl attack by the CCP and all of the WEFers and whoever's like attacking our country, they're killing people in the United States in the hundreds of thousands per year, and it needs to stop. So that was a really good thing to see. Also, a really cool thing for young people out there is, if you have tried to be part of the RNC, we're now seeing it be replaced. We got Lara Trump walking in with another person. They're going to take over. Basically, CPAC was kind of Ronna McDaniel's retirement party. She's out, and Lara Trump and others are taking over. And hopefully they'll do a great job to put all the money, when we haven't gotten the go-ahead yet. We got Carolyn Wren, who does the heavy lifting there to change the RNC, saying, no, wait a while, don't donate yet to the RNC. We need to wait till the new crowd gets in before we start, wasting our money. And so there's that. But I wanted to mention College Republicans of America. College Republicans of America, you can go to uscollegegop.com, uscollegegop.com. And this is an alternative group that is not the RNC College Republicans that actually really wants to get involved. So if you are, need people to knock on doors, make phone calls, support a campaign, you want these kids because they are ready and raring to go. College Republicans of America, uscollegegop.com. All right, so getting to CPAC, the last thing I'm going to mention, of course, and many of the CPAC members did talk about it, was that we really, really need to avoid the WHO and defund the WHO and get the WHO out of every Western government. And I just want to bring your attention back again to sovereigntycoalition.org. I think it's May 26th, is the time when they will sign this WHO pandemic that takes away the sovereignty of all the Western nations and every nation that's involved in the UN. And so, of course, we want Trump to defund the UN and totally defund the WHO. In the meantime, we have to stop the WHO pandemic treaty. And so go to sovereigntycoalition.org, sign, and also send it to all of your representatives that they promoted, that they are part of it. Make sure your representative promotes the ending of funding to the WHO and the stopping of the pandemic treaty. So I'm going to start with the VP straw poll that happened at CPAC. And the straw poll was pretty interesting. Not what I would have thought. Very interesting. I always think that these people are more hardcore than they are, but this is what we got. So for the VP candidate, it was tied at the straw poll at CPAC. Okay, this is about 1,500 people who voted. And the tie was between Kristi Noem and Vivek Ramaswamy for vice president. Now, I don't want either of those people to be vice president. I think we know Byron Donalds cannot really be vice president because he is a citizen of Florida. I don't think you can have a president and a VP from the same state. So that's not happening, even though he was a great speaker, saying all the right things, really on board. I still don't think he has enough under his belt to be a president. So for me, looking at a president, because I just think it's no holds barred, that as we move into 2024 and they see that Trump is winning everything and obviously the next candidate, that we have to really worry about assassination for entertainment purposes only. It's very disturbing and it's awful, but these people are unhinged, and they were not only that. No, they're not really unhinged. They're determined to steal the world for the globalist elite. and especially America. And so we need somebody who can actually do the role. And I don't think Kristi Noem or Vivek Ramaswamy or either of them could do that, or that I would trust them to do it. And so that was a little disappointing about CPAC to see that. Trump, it's his 14th CPAC. He kind of beat the world record there of Reagan. He went more times than Reagan to be there for the 14th year, and I think he's won the Best Speech Award every single time. He was amazing today, incredibly knocked it out of the park, speaking for over 90 minutes, pretty much off the teleprompter, just saying like very cogently and very, intelligently everything that's going on in this country, speaking for 90 minutes, right? And just blowing it away with what we need to do, which is, of course, we have to recreate the American economy and get law and order through peace and strength, and get peace through strength and law and order. And it was an incredible speech, and he did it, for 90 minutes, pretty much teleprompter free. And so, there's no question about Trump's ability to run this country. But those two, Noem and Ramaswamy, no, those are not the vice presidents I would like to see. I need to see a vice president that can survive President Trump if needed, and be able to hold the line in the same way and have the same ability. And quite, frankly, none of them on the short list were ones that I support. But going into CPAC, I want to talk about a couple of the amazing speeches. And one was Javier Milei. He was incredible out of Argentina. And he comes out as this, I'm taking a chainsaw to all the regulations. He comes out as very almost like a parody of Trump. He's got the hair, and he's got the suave, and he's got he's got everything. But they make him out to be this funny guy. He's just baloney, whatever. No, Milei was maybe the most intelligent, vigorous speaker at CPAC that I saw. He broke down everything about free market economy and why it's so important that we have a free market economy that is not controlled by globalist statism. And he broke it down, and he said that Argentina is absolutely going to be going the way of free market capitalism. And I was very impressed with Javier Milei at CPAC. He basically came and said, I'm here not to herd sheep, but to awaken lions. He said, I am the lion. I'm here to make the left wing shake, and long live freedom, damn it. Long live freedom, damn it. That's kind of his, his motto. But basically, this is what he said. He said, in view of my speech at Davos, when I said the West is in danger because of statist and Marxist policies that are globalist, we have these neoclassical economics destroying growth in the West. The rest of the problem is putting a bogus model before reality. And he talked about how, whether it is the new monetary theory, all of this modern monetary theory, and, putting in box stores, internationalist corporations, and the Green New Deal policies, all of this, basically putting in models that aren't realistic and don't reflect reality are what allows the government to steal all of our freedoms, because the market doesn't reflect what people want. And he basically said if we favored monopolies by statism, we would still be using candles versus electricity. That's how socialism works. That at the time of when Edison came around, and the people who were in charge of the government said, we don't want that electricity, because all of these people that own everything in the government own all the candle factories. Well, then we would never get electricity, because they would shut down progress. And he's not wrong. It's very true. Basically, he said this is the situation of voluntary exchange guarding itself against exploitation and socialism. We're in the best moment of history economically, despite statist attempts to intervene. We went from extreme poverty back in 1800 of 95% to now 5% of extreme poverty in the world due to free market capitalism. Excuse me. And he said that there are 380,000 regulations in Argentina that he is basically taking his chainsaw to make Argentina a free market country again. He said that social justice is an unjust aberration that creates tyrannical control of society and robs Peter to pay Paul. That's what I was talking about earlier with the American Green Energy Association, what they're doing with stealing all our taxpayer dollars. They steal your money. It goes through the government, even though they just print it and make it on credit for your grandchildren. And then they steal that money. They give it to their cronies, okay, who have an agenda to destroy your freedoms. And then it keeps recirculating. And that's what he's saying here. Basically, this is redistributing wealth. And, it was a great speech, and I'm going to link it below. I'm actually going to link a way you can watch all of CPAC below, because if you haven't seen any of CPAC this week, you've missed out, because it is amazing. I think the international presence was even more amazing than the national presence. You had Bukele out of El Salvador talking about, literally laying out that what happened to El Salvador, which was U.S. made, okay, where they destroyed El Salvador way back, in the 80s, when there was the takedown of El Salvador, and you had the Sandinistas, and you had all of this going on, and they created a war that it came out of the U.S. prison system. And what Bukele had to say was that people need to understand that what's happening in the United States right now with the migrant invasion, the illegal alien invasion, the invasion, what's happening here in the United States is the exact same thing that the United States exported to El Salvador, okay, in the 80s and 90s. And he said, we watched, okay, as there was this release after the Marxist takeover in the Civil War, okay, that was totally, done by the United States and their globalist leaders, and created civil war in El Salvador. What happened after that was you had the massive influx. Okay, people fled out of El Salvador. You had this creation of gangs in the United States in the prisons, MS-13 and others. And those members were then skillfully deported by Bill Clinton and then George W. They were deported back to El Salvador and all the other countries, okay, to go and create total havoc in the countries. And they went and they disrupted every single part of society through just literal violence and mayhem, destroying law and order, and creating a huge system of just total, where everybody was afraid to do anything. And their lives were controlled by the gangs and the cartels. And he said, this is exactly what they're doing now with the invasion into the United States. The exact same thing that they did, okay, where the U.S. created gangs in the U.S. prisons and then deported them to all of these Latin American countries to take over the countries, is exactly what they're doing now here in the United States. Okay, that they're taking over, the people who are coming in, just as Trump says, they're putting in all of their prisoners and all of their gang members. That's who they're putting across, plus the CCP and the radical Islam. They're putting them into the country to completely do what they did in Latin America. It's our turn now by the globalists. And so their intent is to disrupt society, rob, and steal. And then it gets into property attacks. It gets into basically making every city in the United States a hellhole. But then later, you get your sort of South Africa style, let's attack the people rurally. And Bukele was really, really clear. And he just said, you're being naive if you don't see this in history. He arrested over 50,000 gang members. They're all under massive lockdown. It is free now in El Salvador, where it was the worst country to live in the world as far as murders per capita, and has changed it around and get like Milei, making it into an economic free zone and free place to be. So I just wanted to put that out there, that these international players, the same with Romanians and people across Europe, they're having a huge Make Europe Great Again event in April, and I'll talk about that more in coming videos. But this is going to be happening in Europe before the elections that are coming up. Of course, June 6th, I believe. In Europe they have their parliamentary elections, and we're going to have just a great event going on. And I don't have it in front of me, but I will try to link it below. But I'll talk about it in the next video. We got time. But they're going to have a Make Europe Great Again event as well. So just an incredible time there at CPAC, and hugely invigorating and freeing, and just, just get, excited and elevated to do your part, because we literally are called to do 10 times the amount of anything we've ever had to do before, using our God-given talents. Just put on that armor of God, choose your direction, and then step forward, march forward into winning the fight, because we need every single one of you, okay, in this 254 days that we have left. So I'm going to leave it there at 51 minutes. I will link all of CPAC below, so you can get, I only mentioned a very short amount. There were so many great speeches there. I was super inspired by the international speeches, because it's so great to see that there is a massive populist movement across the world. And in this country, I already know it's one and done. We'll see what happens in South Carolina, as they're attempting to steal through the machine crap again, and all the Democrats being paid to come out and vote as Republicans in a primary, which is just heinous and obviously not fair and equal elections. So we'll report more on Monday what happened in South Carolina. I'm sure you already know by then, but we keep on. But now's the time. Take up the sword and the shield and get moving and superpower yourself in every way you can. Make yourself healthy again, and just do the work, right? Because we're not victims. If you have a crappy person in your precinct, in your state, in your Senate, that's a little bit on you. You gotta get out and be the change, right? Like Gandhi said, be the change you want to see. And so we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. You are free. You are free. Enjoy your Sunday, and I will see you next time.